Hello everyone! Today I'm sharing a card that I created that is combining products from Neat Tangled and Fawn. We are going to be creating this really super fun interactive card, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do to start off my card is stamp and color my image. So I'm going to use the Slow and Steady stamp set, this sloth riding the turtle with that little flag. And I'm going to be stamping on some Neenah Solar White cardstock. This is 80 pound. And I'm going to ink up my image with the My Favorite Things Extreme Black ink, which is Copic friendly. Next, I'm going to start coloring the image with the Copic markers. I will have all of my color combinations listed at the top of the screen. And then I also have my Copic marker combo board at the end of the video, and I will have those listed on the blog as well. So if you ever want to reference back to this combination that I used, you always have that you can pin to Pinterest. So I'm starting off with E47, which is my darkest color, and the way that I like to color is I just jump right in. I add in my darkest area first. So for E47, I added that to the left side of the head, and on that left side of the arm, I also did the dark color on the inside of the arm, and then added the shadow area where the sloth is sitting on top of the turtle and the back side of the leg. And I also did a little bit of that shadow area under, or the bottom part of the arm that he's holding out with the flag. From there, I just blended out with the E44, E43, and E42. And I just blended it out a little bit further each time, making sure that the last color I use is my highlight area, the E42. Another thing that I like to do when I'm coloring, and this is all personal preference, is I do color my images twice. So I will go back through my 4-color combination here, and that just helps intensify those shaded areas. I like my shaded areas to be really drastic and bold. I really want it to stand out. And whenever you color over one color with another lighter color, it's kind of saturating that. So it's kind of taking that away, that dark color away a little bit, if that makes sense. So I just like to color mine twice and really emphasize that shadow area. Next is the face and the belly, which I did E42, E41, and E40. Keeping that darkest area on the left hand side. So my light source, I'm kind of assuming, is off on the right somewhere. For the eye area, I did E77 and E74 and E71. And actually for these, I kind of did it a little backwards. I left the highlighted area more towards the inside of the face just because I didn't want to lose those black dots for the eyes. Next, for the turtle, I'm going to have 2 different color combinations. This first one here is for the feet and the head, and I used YG17, YG25, YG03, and YG21. That YG21 is a really nice bright yellowish green, which I thought was such a great highlight color. And for the dark areas, I'm doing the back side of the turtle's legs, and I'm assuming that the shell would cast a shadow on the neck a little bit. So that is also where I applied the darkest color, which was the YG17. I'm also using that same color combination on the spots of the shell. I tried to keep my light source in the same direction on everything. Sometimes it doesn't always work out, but to me, as long as I have a light and a dark, that is my main goal. So when I'm Copic coloring, I try not to focus too much on that because I really enjoy coloring up the critters. So for the rest of the turtle, I did YG 67, 63, and 61, and I just kept that really simple. Next, I'm going to work on my background. So I'm going to be using a panel of Bristol Smooth cardstock. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, or maybe just a little bit bigger. And I'm starting off with ripe persimmon. I'm adding that to the very top of the card. Then I'll come in with some dried marigold and mustard seed. And I'm just laying down a quick coat of each one. I'm not too worried about blending at this point. I just want to get a layer of that ink down. And actually the mustard seed, I guess I shouldn't have worried about it too much because it got covered up mostly with my grass in the end, but I still left it here if you want to see the process of it. Once I had all 3 of those colors laid down. Then I'm going to come back through again and add some more color that just kind of darkens up that Oxide ink. And it also helps blend those lines so it's not such a distinction between the two. Helps ease the transition. Then I'm going to take the Heart Duo Stencil from Neat Tangled, and I'm going to lay this towards the top of my card. I'm going to flip my cardstock over and just hold that down with some purple tape. That way the hearts don't move while I'm trying to stencil those in. So I'm using the same colors that I had used to do the panel. This is the Ripe Persimmon. And I'm just lightly going over those areas. This is kind of like a tone-on-tone look, which I think is really cool. It's nice and subtle for a background. Once I have that top portion done, I'm just going to remove that and kind of clean off my stencil a little bit. And then I'm going to attach it or line it towards the bottom. Hold that down with the purple tape again. And I'm going to come in with the mustard seed. Now, when I was doing this, I noticed the mustard seed didn't stand out as much as I had hoped it to. I kind of added a little bit too much when I did the panel. So I came in with some dried marigold, and I thought that really helped make those hearts pop a little bit more. Then I just took that Ripe Persimmon, I smeared a little bit onto my craft sheet and spritzed it with water. And I'm just going to mix it up with a paintbrush and flick this onto my background. So it's going to just help with some contrast there. And I'll set that off on the side to dry. Now I'm going to start working on the actual interactive part of the card. So I took that ink blended panel and I'm attaching the reveal wheel die from Fawn to that ink blended panel. I have the window there that I'm just holding in place with some Post-it tape, and I'm also holding that frame down with Post-it tape because I'm using my Gemini Junior. So I have to flip the panel over onto that magnetic pad that I have, and having the Post-it tape there just helps so my paper doesn't shift when I'm trying to line that up. So there cuts out my front panel of the interactive card. I'm going to take that little piece that I just popped out and cut my arrow out of that. That way it matches the front of my card. Now off screen I did go ahead and die cut just a plain reveal wheel panel. This is the backer. I also have the scallop circle and then the small circle there. That's our wheel that we're going to have moving our sentiments around. So I'm taking a brad. Now on that scalloped circle there are some score lines. You want that facing up. And that's where the brad's going to open up on the front of, is it's going to have score lines. I know it's really hard to see on camera, but you can definitely see them in person. So on the back side with the little circle, I just cut some small pieces of foam tape. You can add a little bit there, but just make sure you're not touching the brad. We want our wheel to move freely. So I'll remove the backing of that foam tape. And I'm going to line these score lines up with my window, and also on the right hand side you can see there I'm shifting it. So I want to make sure I'm not seeing those score lines. So I just shift that up and down and off on the side just enough so I don't see the score lines anymore. And then I attach that to that back panel of my card. I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just adding these little tick marks at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And off on the right hand side, I'm going to center that with the notch that I created. And then I'm going to trace that window for my reveal wheel. And I'll do that each time. So I'm just spinning it till I see my tick centered in that notch. And then I'll trace my window. This just helps me so I know where I'm going to stamp my sentiments. So now I'll go ahead, remove that scallop piece, and I'm going to use my MISTI tool to do all my stamping. This is actually using the Fawn Reveal Wheel sentiment stamp set. You could really use any sentiments in here. I just wanted to throw something in here for my birthday card. So I'll go ahead and get all of those stamped in there, and then I can come in and erase all of those lines and the tick marks that I had put on there. Then I can just pop that back onto that small wheel and open the brad back up. So that secures our wheel in place. And then I just kind of bring in my ink blended panel, give that a spin. Everything lines up perfectly, which is what I wanted. So to attach this, I added foam tape all around that panel that has the wheel on it. The reason why I put it on that panel is because I need to know where not to put the foam. We don't want foam touching that wheel or our wheel is not going to spin. So then I'll just remove the backing of all of that and I can attach my ink blended panel. So the hardest part of the card is done. These are really simple to put together and there's so many different sets from Neat Tangled that you could combine to create fun scenes with these. So here I die cut the stitched slopes from Neat Tangled with some cilantro cardstock, and I'm going to cut that out of that reveal wheel die so that it matches the stitched lines of my ink blended panel. And this is how it's looking so far, and here is my image that I had die cut using the coordinating dies of the Slow and Steady stamp set. I decided I wanted to add a white card base behind this, so I'm going to go ahead and just get that attached. Now you can see I do have a sentiment here at the very top that says, "Hope your day is," and I used the skinny strips die from Neat Tangled. Those give some really clean cut edges, and there's such a great variety of sizes that you can die cut. And then I did go ahead and attach my slopes because I didn't think I was going to do anything else much for stamping on here. And attaching my sentiment there. I do like to bring in my tweezers because that does help keep my fingers out of the way so I can center that at the top of my card. Now at this point I hadn't really decided what I had wanted to do with that banner, but I did decide to just do some pattern paper for it. So I'm taking that stamp set back out and I'm just going to use an acrylic block because I only need to stamp that top portion where the flag is. So I'm just using some black ink and stamping that right onto the pattern paper. I'm also going to add the Yay, which is off of the Slow and Steady stamp set. And then I'll go ahead and just trim that out with my scissors, and I'm just going right under the black line of it because then it's going to line up perfectly with the flag that my sloth is holding. So once I have that cut out, I'll just go ahead and get that attached, and I'm just using some dot runner adhesive for this. So that is looking great and matches up perfectly. Then I decided I wanted to add my sloth to the card with some foam squares. I'm using the Gina K Designs foam squares. These are a little bit skinnier than the foam tape that I used, so it doesn't stand up as much, but it does give some dimension to it. So I just trimmed up the pieces that I needed to fit on the arm. There were some skinny pieces there, so I trimmed those up. And then I can add that to the front of the card. And I know this is kind of a different color combination, but I was kind of getting out of my box a little bit, just trying something different, and I'm really happy with how these all came together. So this is the little arrow that I die cut earlier that I'm just going to glue off on the side so my recipient knows to spin the wheel. And I decided to stamp the inside of my card, so I'm using the Piece of Cake sentiments for the inside, and I'm stamping "Let's Celebrate." And I thought this coordinated great with the front of my card. So once that's done, I'm going to attach a piece of cilantro cardstock to the front of that card base, and then I can add my interactive panel to that front. So I have a green and a white border around my panel. And then I'm just going to go through and we're going to spin the wheel, and everything is moving great, and we have all these wonderful sentiments. And so these are some really fun things that you can do with your images. You can make a scene with some more of the cute critters that Neat Tangled has. And then here are my Copic marker combos that I had used. And I also have one for the Distress Oxide combo that I had used as well. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And then click the little bell to be notified of any future videos that are coming out. Thank you for stopping by, and have a great day.